Alright guys, so I've got a real quick, simple video for you today. We're going to go over how to fix your leaking valve cover on your OM617. So you're going to have to take the valve cover off the engine and get it to a spot where you can do some cutting or grinding on it. So what I've done here is thrown it upside down on my bench. I've wiped it all off. So what actually generally causes these valve covers to leak is that people might over tighten these, and what that does is it'll actually cause these mounting feet to contact the head, or to contact, it's actually part of the stud, but where these seat, it'll actually touch those before the valve cover can crush into the gasket. So it's a real simple fix. We're just going to take an angle grinder or a Dremel die grinder, whatever you have, belt sander even, and we're going to come in and we're going to remove material off these 4 mounting points. That way we can actually shove the valve cover down into the seal. We don't need to tighten it any tighter than spec. We just need to be able to actually get the valve cover to go all the way down. So these 2 here are a lot easier because they're on the outside. So you could just tape this off or put a bag over it and cut these off. Unfortunately, these 2 are actually inside the pan. So we're going to have to either mask the valve cover off or fill it enough so it's easy enough to clean all the grit out once we're done grinding. There is this cavity in here for your crankcase ventilation to exit without actually spitting just raw oil out as it's being thrown off the camshaft. So you definitely don't want to get your grit into this cavity because it'd be really, really difficult to remove it. So I'm going to take a piece of packing paper and stuff this down in there. That's going to protect 90% of it. Then I'll actually drape this back over in the middle. You can just work on one at a time. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. Now we'll take this over to the parts washer, hose it out thoroughly with some brake parts cleaner and get all this dust and grit off of it. So when it comes to installing the valve cover itself, make sure you have the valve cover gasket completely seated on the valve cover all the way around. It's usually a bear to get the valve cover to go back on past these fuel lines. So once you get it on, there's 2 key things here. First is you should have wave washers underneath your nuts. That's a wave washer. It's also called a spring washer. So there's a constant spring force on that washer. Once you tighten the nut down, that washer pushes back up against the nut, prevents it from vibrating loose. The other thing is proper torque. So you don't want to go in and smash this thing down. Otherwise you're going to warp it because you only have 4 mounting points, which I think was a shortcoming on Mercedes' part. They should have had a bunch of fasteners and then you wouldn't have the problem. So the proper torque range is roughly 10 to 13 foot-pounds. I'm actually going to go towards the bottom end. This has inch-pounds and Newton meters on it, and I'm going to go right at 9 Newton meters. It really should require the minimal amount of torque since the valve cover is not bottoming out. We're just trying to deflect the gasket itself. And it's as simple as that. So hopefully this will help solve your oil leaking problems from your leaking valve cover gasket. Thanks for watching. See you in our next one.